Hey guys, so I just want to take some time to go, through my car, everything that I've done, just as a one big picture as of August 2014, just to give you an idea of kind of some of the jobs you can do, some of the work you can do on this car, and sort of what it looks like. So first off, this is a 1988 Toyota MR2. This car was originally an automatic. It has now been converted to a manual. Starting from the front here, you can see we have the lazy eye modification. I have added hella fog lights, completely repainted the front valence, remade some of these metal pieces out of stainless steel because they were rusting. These are the tie-down pieces. Rebuilt the headlights completely, repainted them. If we open the hood, we can take a look inside here. So this is actually my second new radiator. The first one I wasn't happy with, so I've this again upgraded. Upgraded electric spowl fan with a custom mount. New coolant hoses. Had to relocate here my horns. This car has two horns. What else here? Done a front battery relocation with a smaller battery. This is the Odyssey PC680. As part of this relocation, I've rewired the car completely. Added a fuse mounting area here. This fuse is an 80 amp fuse which controls the power to the interior of the car, and all these sort of aftermarket stuff I've added there. And this is the main fuse, 150 amp, which goes to the engine bay. And these are quick disconnect fuses, so you can easily disconnect the battery from the rest of the car. Added, sufficient grounding. We have the lazy eye modification, which I have a video about. This car has a 20 valve silvertop swap, so you have to modify the throttle cable. Put racing brake fluid in. This is the racing blue, or super blue, whatever it's called, brake fluid. So that's the front of the car. If we move around the side, had to rebuild some of the fenders. They were rusting away. Completely rebuilt the suspension. Put KYB GR2 shocks in. The car is lowered on ST springs, so it's lowered by about 1.5 to 2 inches. So I rebuilt the struts and the shocks with OEM components and alloy wheels. Rebuilt the brakes completely. This is not just the pads, but also the actual cylinders inside the calipers. Added a aftermarket sway bar with end links. Put urethane bushings everywhere around the car. It's one of the hardest jobs you can do, actually. Replace the ball joints on all 4 corners. We'll save the interior for last here. Rebuilt again the suspension in the rear, rebuilt the brakes, repaired the manual parking brake cables, just re-greased them and made sure they were okay. All the fuel seals, the fuel tank was dropped, new fuel pump put in, all the seals in the fuel tank were redone. This is my silvertop 20 valve swap. So this swap is fairly involved. You need to rewire the engine harness completely, which I did myself. And it was a little bit trickier because this car was originally an automatic. Remove the battery, like I said, to the front. This is the power distribution block for the engine compartment. So this is that power cable. And then this is the engine harness. You have to add a new igniter, as well as a new mass airflow sensor from, I think this is from a Toyota Camry and a Toyota Tundra. Aftermarket air filter, custom fuel lines, new spark plugs, wires, new spark plugs. You have to reroute the coolant lines completely, so I did a custom job there with some flexible hose, new heater lines. This is the transmission from the silvertop, so it's a modified C56, I believe, transmission. You have to actually, it's meant for a front-wheel drive car, so you have to modify it for a rear-wheel drive. And again, this car was an automatic, but it's now a manual. Updated to an electric SPAL engine bay fan. Added aftermarket gauges with oil temperature, oil pressure, and water temperature. If we look in the trunk, we have the 20 valve for a GE ECU wired correctly to the body harness. We also still have the cooling engine bay fan computer. Everything's still wired up. The exhaust was completely refurbished. It's still the original exhaust. I haven't gotten around to redoing them yet, but one day I will. Had to do some body work on the body. If we go into the interior here, part of my rewiring, completely rewired the interior. I don't have a glove box anymore. This is the power distribution block for the interior, and those are the speaker rectifiers. So we have new speakers, 6.5-inch ones in the door on both sides. We have aftermarket gauges, new head unit. There's a big ass amplifier underneath the passenger seat. Again, manual transmission now. Aftermarket removable NRG steering wheel. The interior was completely stripped. Some floor pan repair had to be done with some welding. There was some rust, some holes on both the passenger and the driver's side. Have a bunch of really cool little switches here in the center that controlling everything from the lazy eyes to the fog lights to powering the gauges and different fans, engine bay and radiator fan. So, big project, but definitely worth it. It's a fun little car, easy on gas, definitely turns some heads, and good luck with your own projects.